next question actually came from Facebook, and it was from a person named Isidoro, and I'm saying Isidoro, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. But they'd asked about Obitsu Clothing, which is, it can be hectic and crazy because some Obitsu Clothing is, I think, overpriced. And I don't know why. But it can be pretty expensive. Mainly when you're talking about these little guys back here. The smaller Obitsus, which are like your 21 centimeter dolls, your 11 centimeter tiny baby ones, and then like the 21 and 23, 25 range dolls. Their clothing can be pretty expensive. It's like $15 like for a top or a bottom or something, and $15 can buy you like an MSD like top or bottom. So that's what I find it kind of hard to believe sometimes, because it's so expensive for something that's really, really tiny. But as far as shopping for Obitsu Clothing goes, if you're looking at this range of dolls, which is the tinier like 25, 27 centimeter range dolls, Barbie clothes can fit, but they do fit loose. They do fit kind of big, so don't expect them to be like, you know, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful match, you know. But this is actually a Barbie dress, and it fits this one, which I think is a 25 or 27 centimeter doll, and it fits her really well, and that's because she doesn't even really have that big of a bust. Barbie kind of is outrageous. But when it gets to the smaller ones, which are like the 21 centimeter dolls, yeah, it does not fit. This is a Barbie dress on a 21, and actually it's on a male, so I don't know if it's a really good comparison, but I mean, it's huge. Like, this guy's swimming in it, and I feel bad because I don't have any clothes, and that is the whole reason why I'm so stressed out also about Obitsu dolls, because it's, you know, you gotta find clothing, and then if you want to find like the clothing that fits them perfectly, you should go with the Obitsu Clothing because it's made for them, but then like you have to pay so much for them, and oh my gosh, why, you know. But I've been trying to find alternate things to put on them, and as luck would have it, the clothing, some of the clothing that this one is wearing is from a doll company that's no longer in business called Hujoo Couture, and so they are actually smaller fashion dolls, and I put the clothing on them and it seems to fit pretty darn well. This is actually a Barbie top, so I think it really wouldn't hurt to go to like Target or Walmart and look at some of the fashion dolls that are there, whether it's like the Liv or the Kelly Barbie clothing for the 11 centimeter dolls, or even like some of the other ones like Monster High and stuff. Take a look at their clothing and see what you might like from there. And the cool thing about buying it from like Target or Walmart is that you could open it, try it on. If it doesn't fit, return it and try something else, which I've actually done before because I wanted to see if I could get some, I don't remember what it was, I think it was like Liv dolls or something like that, or I don't remember what little fashion doll it was that I tried taking clothes from, and it ended up not fitting that particular doll, but I should have kept it because I have other ones to try it on, that I should have tried it on. But I would probably go with that route, unless you really do want to pay for Obitsu Clothing, which to each his own. Junkie Spot actually sells some Obitsu Clothing, and then there's another website called Parabox that has a whole bunch of Obitsu stuff to buy from too. So that's the pain kind of thing as far as buying clothing for these guys is, but like I said, you can easily remedy that by kind of testing around and seeing what other alternate clothing you can find. When it comes to the bigger sized dolls, however, everything's just like so poorly put back there. When it comes to the bigger sized dolls though, however, like my 50 centimeter doll that I have here who's an Obitsu, she's wearing just regular MSD size clothing. So, and like I said at the beginning of the video, it did fit her a little bit tight for the skirt, but everything else fits really, really nice. Even the shoes are MSD, just standard MSD size shoes. And then the 60 centimeter doll, she's wearing SD clothing, and same thing, the skirt, it fits just a tad bit, you know, off on her, but it's still very much passable. It looks really, really good. So I don't think Obitsu Clothing is too bad, but when you work for the little ones, the tiny ones, you're going to have to do some kind of guess and check. So, my other question that I got asked, and unfortunately I don't remember who asked it, but they were asking, how do you remove a Dana head? This is my Hujoo Dana. She's a little Lolita girl, and it's kind of funny with these heads because they've been changing. Hujoo's been changing their bodies and stuff every time they make a doll, it seems, which is cool because, you know, they're really trying to make it easy, you know, as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and take off her wig, take off everything else. So this is like first generation Dana. I think the body's the only thing that's different. I don't think the head's really that big of a different thing. But if anybody owns a Hujoo, my heart goes out to you. Continue to have patience, continue to spread the love. I know it can be a pain to take off these heads sometimes because they're not magnetic. They're actually put in with pegs, and they don't have any gaps or anything for you to be able to pull it off easily. So there are one of two ways that you can do this. One is you can grab towards the ears right here, so you're not touching any of the face, and then you can just go back and forth like this, slightly pinching here, slightly pinching, and then pull it off that way. Or you could do option B, which I will warn you, you have to be careful with what you use. Option number 2 is that you could use a tool to pry it open, but I mean with that you have to be super careful because you don't want the plastic to get damaged with whatever you're going to shove into it. There was somebody that had mentioned using like a credit card or something. They kind of just like opened it up like a tad bit and then they put the card into it. Whatever works for you. So once you do have the cap off, and I must admit mine is a little bit different because usually they're either tied to the top parts up here or they have that ring now in place. It's like a keychain ring. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the keychain ring. So what I actually did for mine is that I bought a resin neck piece thing, like I think it's called like a resin donut piece, and that way I could put an S-hook in her head. So this is what the inside of my head looks like on my Dana. So it's got that resin donut piece here, and then my S-hook sitting there. So like in order to take it off, I would essentially pull up on the S-hook and twist it, just like I normally would, and then everything would slip through the bottom of the piece here, and I'd have to get something to stop it so the strings don't go throughout the body, or just to make sure I keep the S-hook on there. But typically if you have that ring that's there, essentially what you're going to have to do with that ring is either try your best to slip it through the keyhole piece that's there, or take it off by, you know, pretending like you're taking off a keychain. I really like this system. So if you have a Hujoo action doll of any kind, I really suggest doing it this way. This is so much easier to take the head off and on, and I feel a lot more secure having this system put in place than the little ring that it comes with. So if you're listening, Hujoo, maybe you'll do an S-hook system for us, pretty please. That'd be super awesome. Thank you. I got another question asked, I think on Facebook, I really don't remember, from Miss Kathy, and they asked about the inner skeleton the 50 centimeter Obitsus have. So here is my 50 centimeter Obitsu. I am not quite sure if, and I can't remember if in my 50 centimeter Obitsu review that I actually took her apart or not, but just kind of as a refresher, I guess I'll kind of show you guys. I'm not going to take her apart too much just because I don't want to have to put all that stuff back together, but you'll get the idea once I kind of show you how it's done. So basically, Obitsu dolls versus other just, you know, traditionally resin strung dolls. Look, she's doing like this cool karate pose. They do not have strings in them. They actually have a skeletal system, which kind of everything plugs into. With her arms, there's several pieces that can come off. Her wrist piece can actually pop off like that, boop, and You can actually get other hands, which they have super cute hands, like really, really cute ones, that you can get. And then her arm right here can come off too. And then up to her elbow, it can come off. So they come off in pieces, and when you actually look at them, you can actually see that there's a slot, you know, a little place to put the peg in, and then you just push it back in. So that's pretty much how their bodies are. They're all connected to this one main piece in their torso that's right down here. So this is what they look like in the inside. I know this looks really grotesque and really strange, but it really is a skeletal system inside. It's got a bottom part right here that kind of controls the bottom piece and bottom half of her, which is the legs and whatnot. And it has this peg right here that connects into the upper torso and kind of puts it all together for her. All these parts are kind of like gears and whatnot, so it helps the body move and twist and whatever. If you do happen to break any of these pieces, or anything happens to them or damage comes to them, you can actually buy replaceable parts. I know the Junkie Spot sells some, I know Parabox has them there too. Everything really honestly is like a skeleton. It's like a harder plastic that's inside. I don't know if it's like ABS, but I know the outside is like a vinyl. It's like a soft vinyl. That's pretty much what makes up their inner skeletons. As you can see, this is the inside of the upper part of her torso. So I mean, it looks really kind of cool, to be honest with you, and it kind of relieves the stress of you having to string it. And as far as, you know, durability and how long it is, you know, until you have to buy replacement pieces and whatnot, I haven't documented it, but I've heard a lot of people say that it lasts quite a while. That because a lot of people are scared, you know, that what if they start becoming loose, you know, because you're moving the parts so often and they're just rubbing on each other and it just, you know, loosens up. What happens then? I don't think that happens like over like a year or whatever. And of course I think it also has to do with how often you're using and kind of playing with the doll and whatnot. But even if that did happen, if you did have to buy a replacement piece, the replacement pieces are not that crazy expensive. I think some of them range anywhere from like $7 to like 12 or so, to maybe, I think an expensive part that I saw once was like 17, and that was like for the larger size dolls. But the thing would be is that you'd have to know how to fix it. You know, you'd have to know how to get into the different body pieces and, you know, replace those parts that, you know, are kind of messing up on you. So she's back together now, so she's all happy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the clothes back on her. But I hope that kind of helped answer it. I'm not quite sure how much I did in the review, but if anybody else had questions about inner skeletons, that's pretty much what it is. And it's the same thing for the smaller dolls and also for the 60 centimeter one that they have. They all have that kind of inner skeleton system that's a harder plastic that's inside of them. And so that pretty much covers it for my third video for Q&A stuff. These were actually really like Obitsu centered questions, which is pretty surprising, but I guess it's because there's not too much about them. But yeah, hope that was helpful to people that had questions, and maybe people that may have had similar questions. I hope that helped answer them. And I will be seeing you guys in another video very soon. Don't forget to check out my website if you haven't already checked it out. It's www.resinreality.com.